Good morning, students. Hope everything is doing okay. I'm trying my best. I know those are not the best thing. It's not my favorite thing to do. Um, and today's is going to be a little bit more challenging. So just kind of bear with me. You think about that your problems in your homework are not that difficult, but I feel like you need to see all of this because it is something that is on the ACT and an important topic, and this may be the only place that you see it. And so we're really covering like a whole week's worth of assignments in one day. So I'm going to kind of flash my notes to you. You have the notes on the paper, but as you write them in your notebook, write them down with me. If you're into that, again, your problems are not that difficult. So we have two different types of special right triangles. And let me get my pens, wasn't quite prepared, and a ruler. I'm going to go to the next page in my notebook and title it Special Right Triangles. So writing down, now we'll flash you the page every now and then, but for some reason it's going to be backwards. So that is not really that helpful. So title it Special Right Triangles. You're really going to be writing down exactly what is in the notes that shows up on the page. But as you're listening to me, that will be helpful. So special right triangles. Again, it is backwards. I tried to fix it. I don't know how. But it's also in there. So your first one is the 45, 45, 90. So I'm going to be drawing the 45, 45, 90. I'm going to try to make two sides equal. Let's make, and again, it is a right triangle. Let's make the legs 4 centimeters. If you have a ruler, if you don't have a ruler, really not that big of a deal right now. But you want to try to make, because both angles are equal, then two sides are equal, and that is something helpful to know. And that was a theorem, I'm not sure, the isosceles triangle theorem, a converse isosceles triangle theorem. So my two angles are 45, and then I have my 90. And the symbols that we're going to use for this are L's. Okay, so the two legs that are equal, we'll put a little L on. And the hypotenuse, and if you did Pythagorean theorem, this would also work out. The hypotenuse is the length of that leg times the square root of 2. Okay, that's it. Two sides are equal. The hypotenuse is whatever that length is times the square root of 2. And I'm going to show you all types of triangles, all types of problems, even the harder ones, even though your assignment is really not that hard. So on your assignment, if you're really questioning what is going on, just kind of look back at an example and try your best. That's all I ask. Don't get frustrated with this topic because it is very challenging, but I feel like it is something that we need to know. Okay. So you have this in your notebook. Again, it is backwards. Okay. So just kind of work with me, and I'm going to draw, I'm going to go down the page and draw like 5 little bitty, teeny tiny, just alike right triangles, and then I'm going to work through the problems. Again, these same things are listed in the notes that you can see. So I'm drawing 5 little right triangles. About one space, making mine like 2 lines by 2 lines, just like it was on the paper. And then I will kind of walk you through them. And this will be one of the longer things that we are doing. And some of you may at the end, want to kind of look up some harder problems. You will have 5. I wouldn't, but I would say fairly simple of this type of problem on your homework. Okay, so I have my 5 triangles drawn, and to ensure that I know that they're 45, 45, 90, I don't really need to put 45, 45 in there. I can mark the angles equal That's what I'm going to do. Or I could, which I'm not going to do that, I could mark the sides equal, because if two angles are equal, then two sides are equal. And again, on this, there's times I may make mistakes, and I probably will not go back and fix it. Just kind of go with it and try to do your best. So I'm starting here. I have the 5 problems drawn. And then I'm going to label in pen whatever is in pen and not in pencil. That is your problem. So my first triangle on the left side, I'm going to put a 3. So I'm saying the length of one leg is 3. So in pencil, this is just what I'm doing whenever you can see it. The notes, it's the same thing. Okay, I'm going to label my triangle every time, okay, with the sides. So the 2 legs, they're both L. And the hypotenuse is whatever that length times the square root of 2. Every time I'm going to do this. And this will help you whenever you're working the homework. Just kind of draw the picture, especially if you're having issues. Maybe you don't have any issues at all. But if you draw the picture and put the little L's on there, it may help you solve the problem. So I can tell in this problem that L is 3. So my bottom leg is 3. So I'm going to put a 3 there. And my hypotenuse is the L, which is 3 times the square root of 2. So the length of my hypotenuse is 3 square roots of 2. Okay. Again, that is going to be the very simplest problem. Then I'm going to try one that's a little more challenging. Now I'm going to say, and I don't think there's any of these on your homework, but it is something that you do need to see and kind of listen to anyway. If the hypotenuse is 3. So I put a 3 on the hypotenuse. I label my sides again, L, L square root of 2. Okay, so my hypotenuse is 3. Okay, and also you also want to be thinking about this. Okay, the hypotenuse is the largest side. So I need to divide to get my smaller side. So I'm going to write down an equation that L square root of 2, put it by the wrong problem. Let's erase it and try it again. L square root of 2 equals 3. So to solve this, I'm going to divide by the square root of 2. But in math, we do have issues. Okay? And in these types of problems, we rarely want decimals. Okay? So I divided by the square root of 2. So I'm not going to type that into my calculator because I need the exact value. I think we've talked about this before. No, maybe we haven't. Rationalizing a denominator. So I cannot leave the square root of 2 on the bottom. So I multiply this fraction by 1, which is the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. So I multiply across. 3 times the square root of 2 is 3 square root of 2. And then the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, which is 2. So my final answer is 3 square root of 2 over 2. The reason why I multiply by the square root of 2 over square root of 2 is because that number that is equal to 1. Okay, and that helps rationalize the denominator. It gets the square root out of the denominator, and that makes the fraction legal. So my lengths and my legs, even though you might not quite understand what happened, okay, just follow that procedure, is 3 square root of 2 over 2. So on your picture, write 3 square root of 2 over 2. And that is the hardest type. And of course, it can get a little bit more challenging than that. And I don't think we're going to do all of these examples. But let's kind of see one more, because I like that one. Now we're going to see 2 more, because we do have also our 30, 60, 90. So I'm going to label on my third shape, I'm going to label the bottom leg square root of 2. So that is my problem. Okay, I made that problem up. Then I label my triangle again. 2 legs are L, and the hypotenuse is L square roots of 2. So I'm looking at it, and so I acknowledge that L is the square root of 2. So that means my left side is also the square root of 2. So for my hypotenuse, I'm going to take the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. And I'm writing it down, square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Well, I just acknowledged that before. Okay, well, 2 times 2 is 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. So the length of the hypotenuse is 2. Okay, so now I'm going on to the fourth triangle because this one kind of should be done too. So I'm going to label, I think I'm going to skip the fifth one. Sorry, I didn't plan that far in advance. I'm going to label my hypotenuse the square root of 2. I put my labels on there, L square root of 2. So my problem was the hypotenuse was given the square root of 2. So I write my equation. If I have the hypotenuse, I have to divide. And if I have the leg, I already know L in this situation. So I'm going to write down L square root of 2 equals the square root of 2. And then I'm going to divide. So I write down divide by square root of 2. Okay. And I'm glancing at that, and that is the same. The square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2, well, that happens to be equal to 1. So my legs are 1. So I'll put a 1 by my legs. Again, we're going to kind of skip the fifth one. You will not have any problems like that. I do want to show you all of these. I know everything is backwards, but I've kind of done what I can do. Again, this will be the hardest thing. And yes, we still have one more page. At this point, I would maybe even change it to make it a little bit easier. But I've already made this assignment and it was super hard to make. So turn the page, and now we're going to draw a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And again, it will be a right triangle. You definitely want, I'm going to make my bottom leg longer than my other leg. It is actually the square root of 3 times as long as the shorter leg. And this is a little bit harder. Again, I just want you to see this material and try your best. Some of you will really kind of get into this and it will not be that big of a deal. But for some of you, this will be very challenging, but still look at it, write the things down, and try your best. You know, if I were there to sit down and help you, you know, like I usually do, it would not be that big of a deal. So my right angle is going to be 30 degrees. Top angle, 60 degrees. Okay. Now in this situation, your labels go as follows. And again, on your homework, it is a little bit easier, but I do want to show you most of the information. Your short leg, which is across from the 30, because the 30 is the smallest angle is across from the shortest side, is L. Your hypotenuse, the longest side, is 2L, which means it's 2 times the short side. Now the harder one across from the 60 is the length of the shorter leg times the square root of 3. And again, so you're looking at it, again, it is backwards. If you're given the short side, your problem is pretty easy. You have L, you would multiply it by 2 for the hypotenuse, and you'd multiply it by the square root of 3 for the middle leg, or the long leg, either way. So I'm going to try to think about this a little bit. Let's go with 3 examples. So draw 3, kind of just like that. 3 little 30, 60, 90 triangles. And some of them look a little bit more extreme than others when you see my picture. I'm just going to have mine go down, but give it a little bit more space because I'm changing my mind. And also, if you don't understand things, you know, you could maybe ask a friend, or there's Khan Academy, other YouTube videos. If you really want to get into it, you can find extra problems on the internet. Be sure that you trust that you are doing them right. Okay, and technically in each of these triangles I draw, I only need to put one angle, because if one is 30 and they add up to be 180, then the other one would have to be 60. Okay, so in my first problem, and again, I may change my mind from the notebook. I'm just going to pick some of these. Okay, I am going to pick the first one, and across from my 30-degree angle is going to be a 3. My left side will be a 3. Again, when you're working on your homework problems, follow and do what we're doing. This will be the longest and hardest thing. Okay. Across from the 30, which is where the 3 is an L. Your hypotenuse on the right side is 2L. On the bottom, it's a length L square root of 3. And when you label it, it's telling you that L is 3. So if L is 3, it's easy to find the hypotenuse first. 2 times 3 is what answer? 6. And again, L is 3, so the denominator, or the bottom, is 3 square root of 3. Okay, so on the middle triangle, I'm going to let the hypotenuse, say, be 10. Hypotenuse, 10. That's just my made-up problem. And I'm going to label my triangle. Can you see it? Again, short side L, hypotenuse 2L, middle side L square root of 3. Okay. And maybe I wouldn't need to do this, but I definitely want to show you. Again, I am kind of changing my problems. I'm going to say that 2L equals 10. And it's not a hard problem to solve. 2L equals 10. Divide by 2. Some of you could probably see that without writing it out. And L is 5. So that means your short side is 5. Again, I'm changing this from the notebook, but you may see an example similar to this in there. Again, it's backwards. L is 5, which means my short side is 5. And my middle side is 5 square root of 3. And on my final one, I'm going to change it up. Again, you can look at the other examples if you want to and kind of see different things. Okay, I'm going to let the side across from the 60 be 3 again. But now it's across from the 60. So it'll be my bottom side. If you drew yours the same way, my bottom side will be 3. I label my triangle again. Left side L, hypotenuse 2L, middle side, the side I'm given, L square root of 3. So again, I'm going to have to rationalize my denominator, and some strange things are going to happen. Just kind of follow with me and try your best. So I want to write down L square root of 3 equals 3. And then I'm going to divide by the square root of 3. And I have L, and I'm looking at it. Oh, I have a square root on the bottom. So I have to rationalize my denominator. If you have issues with that, kind of look it up. And now yesterday, or not yesterday, but just a minute ago, we multiplied by the square root of 2 over square root of 2 to get rid of that. But now we have to change it because it's the square root of 3 on bottom. So you multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. Again, it's backwards. And I look at the top, and I have 3 square roots of 3. And I look at the bottom. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is the square root of 9. And the square root of 9 is 3. See, it gets rid of that. So I have written on my paper 3 square root of 3 over 3. And then I can look, and this is one of the situations, yes, it's backwards, where the 3's will cancel out, leaving me with a square root of 3. So L, I just solved for L. L equals the square root of 3. So that means my short side is the square root of 3. And then I multiply that times 2 for the hypotenuse. So it is just 2 square roots of 3. I can't really multiply them because they are not the same type. This is not. Okay. And again, it is backwards, but I just kind of change it around. Okay. And that is one of the hardest things, okay, that we will have to do. I just need you to see it because it's my job. I'm a teacher, and I think that that's an important thing for you to know. Then your second assignment will be fairly simple compared to this. And I put the formulas on here. C equals pi d, A equals pi r squared. And you'll work through the problems. If your calculator does not have the pi button, remember you can turn your phone sideways if you need to. You might be able to find it there. Or you can just use 3.14. And again, I'm going to look at these assignments and make sure that I know you tried your best. And just don't cheat. If you should be able to at least do a few of the first one. Okay. And if you don't get discouraged by this and just say, I'm not going to do any more work. Okay. Next week will be different. This is one of the harder things, and it is a lot at once, but it was important to me that this topic needed to be covered. So do your best and just try to behave yourselves. Have a good day. Bye.